Tonight, Donald Trump threatens to attack any country bringing drugs into the U.S.
We're going to start doing those strikes on land, too. You know, the land is much easier.
As his defense secretary defends a second strike that killed survivors on an alleged drug boat.
It was the right call. This is called the fog of war.
A call critics say is a war crime. A CBC News exclusive, a $13 million supercar linked to the alleged Canadian cocaine kingpin, Ryan Wedding.
This guy runs what the U.S. have described as a $1 billion a year enterprise, and so he wants his toys.
The story behind the stunning seizure and complex money laundering scheme.
Hi there. Do you guys have Zyn?
What kind of flavor?
Our hidden cameras find banned nicotine pouches easily available in Canadian corner stores.
If a 14-year-old kid can figure out where to buy them, then our enforcement officers can too.
The growing calls for a crackdown following a CBC News investigation.
From CBC News, this is The National with Erica Johnson.
Thanks for joining us. Adrian is on assignment. Donald Trump is threatening to expand U.S. attacks on alleged international drug traffickers beyond anything we've seen so far. At a highly unusual cabinet meeting, Trump said he's prepared to launch land strikes, and not just on Venezuela, but any country he finds at fault. All as Trump gave continued support to his defense secretary. Pete Hegseth is under growing scrutiny over a second U.S. airstrike on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean. Strikes some describe as a possible war crime. But as Katie Simpson shows us, Hegseth is defending the call.
The U.S. military operation targeting alleged drug traffickers at sea is poised to expand, and it could happen soon.
We know where the bad ones live.
According to U.S. President Donald Trump.
And we're going to start doing those strikes on land, too. You know, the land is much easier. It's much easier.
In recent weeks, the U.S. military has surged resources to the Caribbean. And while Trump says Venezuelan drug traffickers have been the target of American attacks so far, he's open to going after any country involved in the illegal drug trade.
Anybody that's doing that and selling it into our country is subject to attack.
So not necessarily just Venezuela?
No, not just Venezuela, no.
Trump made the announcement during a lengthy and unusual cabinet meeting. At times, the president struggled to keep his eyes open.
I can say, sir,
as his secretaries spoke, one after another,
just sitting there today.
Over the course of 2 hours, Trump appeared to be tired. He was also seated next to his embattled defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, who had a typo, an extra S, on his formal nameplate.
We've only just begun striking narco boats and putting narco terrorists at the bottom of the ocean.
Hegseth is trying to distance himself from this attack on an alleged drug boat in September. According to the Washington Post, after survivors were spotted clinging to wreckage, a second strike was ordered to kill everyone.
I watched that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around.
Hegseth says he learned of the second strike hours later, and it was Admiral Frank Bradley who ordered the follow-up strike, which Hegseth described as the right call.
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded and fire and smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital. This is called the fog of war.
As tensions intensify, Venezuela's president is making an unusual call for calm.
Not war, just peace.
Nicolas Maduro danced to the English remix of a song demanding peace at a public rally in Caracas. Democrats say the Trump administration is not cooperating with demands for more information, and they continue to raise their concerns the double strike attack could very well be a war crime.
And Katie, as Hegseth tries to distance himself from that attack, Trump is doing the same thing.
Yeah, as Trump sat right next to Hegseth, he said he still hasn't gotten a lot of information about what happened. Trump said he didn't know anything about people and that he wasn't involved, though he showed support for the admiral they say ordered the follow-up strike.
Katie Simpson in Washington. Thank you. And in that same cabinet meeting, Trump ranted about immigrants from Somalia using derogatory language.
I don't want them in our country. Their country is no good for a reason. Their country stinks. We're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country.
There are reports that immigration authorities plan to target Minneapolis-St. Paul, specifically to round up undocumented Somali migrants, with the president accused of settling in Minnesota for the generous social assistance. Critics say his escalating rhetoric is dehumanizing a vulnerable group. The sweep is expected to start this week. Any hope for a breakthrough tonight in the war in Ukraine appears to have faded. A much-hyped meeting between U.S. negotiators and Russia's president has ended. And as Chris Brown explains, the message from the Russians, a deal is still out of reach.
So pleased to see you.
A smiling Vladimir Putin welcomed the American delegation to the Kremlin, having already said he rejects much of what's in the latest plan they came to present. But as Ukraine's fate was deliberated and its territory potentially dissected, Ukraine's president was on the other side of Europe, in Ireland, not invited.
We are waiting for the results. I think that the most sensitive things and the most difficult questions, or questions with the challenges, is about territories.
Ukrainians believe strongly that the initial deal U.S. President Donald Trump was pushing was filled with Russian demands to hand over territory and diminish their political sovereignty. The Europeans pushed for changes, prompting an angry tirade from the Russian president just before meeting the Americans. They put forward demands that are absolutely unacceptable for Russia, he said, accusing Europeans of obstructing Trump from achieving a breakthrough in peace talks. We're not planning to fight Europe, I've said 100 times, but if Europe suddenly decides to wage war against us and starts it, we're ready right now, he said. While Putin often threatens a continent-wide war to try to scare his adversaries, his goal this time may be to undermine support for Ukraine and to pressure Volodymyr Zelensky.
3/4 of Ukrainians are not ready for peace at any price.
But this Ukrainian analyst says the country's military and civil society will not accept Putin's terms.
If you put more pressure on President Zelensky, he will sign and everything is going to work fine. No.
Not an easy situation, let me tell you. What a mess.
By the end of the night, the mess, as Trump put it, remained as elusive to resolve as ever, with undefined progress, said the Russian side, but no breakthroughs. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
The number of dead from catastrophic flooding in parts of Asia has surged past 1,300, while the search for more than 900 people still missing continues. Rescue teams led by the military are scouring areas hit by landslides in Sri Lanka and slowly moving survivors out who were left stranded. The president warns the death toll will likely rise. In Indonesia, meanwhile, rescuers are still trying to get to some areas on Sumatra Island that are completely cut off. Here in Canada, RCMP say they've made a major fentanyl drug bust with more than 8,000 arrests and charges across the country.
Fentanyl is incredibly important for us to address, given the lethality, given the opioid overdoses. Where people are dying, we're going to place a lot of effort behind that.
Police say almost 400 kilograms of the drug was seized in a 5-month operation. Officials say it represents over 70% of fentanyl seized this year. They stressed the vast majority was meant for use in Canada, not exported to the U.S. The Prime Minister addressed leaders at the Assembly of First Nations today, where concern is growing about the potential pipeline deal he just signed with Alberta. Olivia Stefanovic with the message he went to deliver and the one now being sent to him.
The skepticism palpable as the Prime Minister took the stage.
Thank you for this invitation.
And try to ease concerns from the Assembly of First Nations, where many are worried about a potential pipeline to the BC coast.
At the outset, I want to make clear that Canada's new government is committed to working directly with you.
Mark Carney promising to build major projects in partnership, uphold First Nations rights, and generate prosperity.
This mission of building is a positive endeavor. The question is not what we're against, but what we're for, what we want to build together.
Do you respect the direction of the rights and title holders.
But when it comes to that new pipeline proposal to get Alberta's oil to the West Coast, First Nations across Canada have different views.
I feel that the pipeline will do a lot more harm than good, especially to our environment.
It's concerning. Once again, decisions are being made away from our community.
There are people that are in favor of oil and gas development. It's just we have to look at ways to be included.
But collectively, the AFN is speaking with one voice.
But chiefs are united. When it comes to approving large national projects on First Nations lands, there will not be getting around rights holders.
Any government must seek our free and prior and informed consent.
First Nations leaders unanimously passed an emergency resolution before Carney's speech.
Approved by consensus. So thank you. You guys.
Calling for the immediate withdrawal of the Ottawa-Alberta Memorandum of Understanding, prioritizing a new bitumen pipeline to Asian markets.
The time for pushing through things is past, and there needs to be a sit-down with the leadership.
And Carney promised just that. He said his office has reached out to the coastal First Nations in BC to schedule a meeting at the earliest opportunity. And he also announced that he's arranging a special premiers meeting with First Nations early in the new year. And he told AFN chiefs that they will get to set the agenda.
Olivia, a lot of conversation at that meeting about consultation.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of the big challenges as all these major projects move forward. Carney says that consultation is built into this process and that work only starts once projects are referred to the major projects office. But many First Nations, especially those from BC, says it should have started well before now.
Okay, Olivia Stefanovic in Ottawa. The CEO of Algoma Steel is shedding light tonight on the decision to hand out 1,000 layoff notices to employees yesterday.
We knew from really probably the middle of the summer when it became apparent that these 50% tariffs were not a momentary condition. There wasn't going to be a quick deal reached with the United States. And so we had to really work hard on our pivot strategy.
CBC News spoke to Mike Garcia today about the layoffs just months after receiving millions in government loans. The full conversation coming up in about 20 minutes. Costco is suing the Trump administration in an attempt to secure a potential refund on U.S. tariffs. The company filed a complaint with the U.S. Court of International Trade last week. Its lawyers say it's to ensure Costco is compensated if the Supreme Court rules the Trump administration overstepped when it imposed sweeping tariffs. It's not clear when the court will issue a decision. We have exclusive new details about a Mercedes-Benz supercar admired by the world's richest collectors and now in the hands of the FBI. Thomas Daigle lays out the connection to Ryan Wedding, the Canadian snowboarder turned alleged drug lord.
Probably the most special car here.
Thought to be worth a staggering $13 million US, this ultra-rare Mercedes-Benz Roadster was once on proud display by Abu Dhabi's royal family. Now seized as evidence by FBI agents hunting for Canadian fugitive Ryan Wedding.
From Coquitlam, British Columbia.
CBC News has learned how the former Olympian turned alleged cocaine kingpin may have used the car as part of a global money laundering scheme.
This guy runs what the U.S. have described as a $1 billion a year enterprise, and so he wants his toys.
Last year, a dealership in Miami imported that 2002 CLK GTR after purportedly sourcing it for Drake. One of just 6 roadsters ever built and in pristine condition, with the odometer reading only 22 kilometers.
They're just in the very best collections on planet Earth.
But the deal with Drake fell through, and we obtained this purchase agreement signed instead by Roland Sokolovsky, a Toronto jeweler identified by U.S. authorities as a chief money launderer for Wedding.
Wedding operates through a complex web of individuals and companies to launder his drug proceeds, using everything from front businesses to luxury cars to cryptocurrency.
That massive money laundering network purportedly also involved military-style tactical boot camps used to train hitmen. And even Wedding's Mexican wife, who authorities suspect also helped him carry out violence.
I'm sure that, it's a tip of the iceberg of a much broader operation.
As for that Mercedes, the FBI won't confirm whether it's set to be auctioned off. Authorities say there were plenty of other luxury cars, motorcycles, and properties around the world used to hide the profits from Wedding's criminal empire. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
The RCMP is restricting the use of more than 900 Chinese-made drones in its fleet over potential security risks. About 80% of the force's drones are made in China. Their use is now limited to non-sensitive operations like car thefts. The RCMP say it will cost more than $30 million to replace them. Edmonton police are testing out new facial recognition technology in their body-worn cameras. They say right now it's simply about seeing if it works. But as Julia Wong explains, there are already concerns.
Edmonton police trying out brand new artificial intelligence in the fight against crime.
If this technology can help us identify some of the suspects in our database who are wanted for serious criminal warrants, we want to explore that as an option.
Body cameras with facial recognition will be deployed on the streets through December, a Canadian first to test the technology for the U.S. company Axon Enterprises.
We have done a lot of lab-based testing and simulated testing, but this will be our in-field testing opportunity to make sure that the results that we have had match what we would see in the field.
Faces captured by the body cameras will be compared with mugshots in a database of people wanted on warrants for major crimes. Any matches will be verified by humans, but during the pilot project, officers on the streets won't be told. Alberta's Information and Privacy Commissioner is raising concerns.
There are a number of issues with facial recognition technology, particularly around accuracy. And as you can appreciate, if you are involved with the police, if there is a mismatch with a person of interest with your face, it's going to have an immediate and serious impact on you.
Well, I don't know why Canadians should be the guinea pigs for an experiment like this.
One professor says the cameras were meant as an accountability tool for police.
Now we're seeing the cameras being turned around essentially on us and being pitched this technology that would essentially turn officers into mobile surveillance units.
Edmontonians are conflicted.
Anything that can make their job safer and easier for them, I support.
It could seem a little invasive. How reliable is it? How many false hits will they get?
Up to 50 officers will wear the cameras until the end of the month. Then police will decide the next steps. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
The Alberta government is taking steps to defy the federal program to buy back assault-style weapons.
To defend lawful firearm owners and ensure Albertans know that they have the right to use reasonable force to defend themselves, their families, and their homes from intruders if they ever need to.
The province's Justice Minister introduced a motion to instruct police forces to refuse to enforce what he called the federal gun confiscation scheme. He said taking away legal guns will do nothing to curb violent crime. It's a widely debated medical test, but could it save lives?
The benefits don't always outweigh the harms, and we don't talk about harms often.
What a new study reveals about prostate cancer screenings. Next. An historic Canadian document set to transfer hands.
Well, in a sense, the charter is the start of the story, right?
The new home for the Hudson's Bay Charter. Plus, a lap around the world becomes a world record.
25 countries. So it's came out to a total of 30,000 kilometers.
A Canadian man's journey of a lifetime. In our moment, we're back in 2. Quebec has tabled an anti-scalping bill that would force ticket resellers to make clear they're not the original vendor and inform customers they may find cheaper tickets elsewhere.
Why should we tolerate these kind of people that make money on the back of the real one who work on the real artist?
The province already has legislation in place forbidding resellers from inflating ticket prices unless they have an agreement with the event producer. A new Canadian study is reopening the debate around the potential benefits and risks of prostate cancer screening. Researchers found a rise in stage 4 diagnoses a decade after Canada advised against PSA tests. Anand Ram now on the arguments to screen or not.
So here's our phone number. If you want to speak with someone.
Dennis Farbstein is helping people navigate their new prostate cancer diagnoses, having gone through it himself years ago.
Had I not been screened, it could have been gone, into other parts of my body, metastatic, and then I would have been in trouble. So for me personally, I was very fortunate.
But screening for prostate cancer through a controversial blood test known as the PSA isn't recommended in Canada. Now, new research suggests a lack of screening means more serious cases.
Metastatic or stage 4 prostate cancer has gone up by 50% in men aged 50 to 74 and by about 65% in men in their late 70s.
The study also looked at prostate cancer deaths over decades. When screening was more widespread, mortality rates dropped. But when guidance shifted to actively not recommend screening, that life-saving progress plateaued.
We can see the way that screening guidelines are impacting prostate cancer outcomes.
But other experts we spoke to disagree with this interpretation, saying we've made huge progress in diagnosing and treating prostate cancers, and still argue that screening, though simple, may open the door to more problems.
The benefits don't always outweigh the harms, and we don't talk about harms often. You will unnecessarily undergo biopsy, you'll unnecessarily undergo surgery or radiotherapy. All of those have complications that affect the remainder of the quality of a life.
Make a fist for me? Advocates argue the blood test should be more widely accessible, and updated Canadian cancer screening guidelines are expected next year.
One of them actually put me in the hospital with sepsis during a biopsy.
Farbstein knows the risks that come with more invasive testing, but ultimately he's been cancer-free for nearly 2 decades and says he's giving back by helping others understand their choices. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
The head of Algoma Steel is speaking out after laying off more than a third of the company's workers.
Internally, we've been crystal clear with our employee base from the beginning.
Why he says the move had to happen now.
Clearly, there needs to be more enforcement.
CBC News hidden cameras catch illegal sales of nicotine pouches. The National breaks down the stories shaping our world. Next. A major deal in the fashion world is now done. Prada has acquired its Italian rival, Versace, for nearly $1.4 billion US. It's a move Prada has been trying to make for years, saying Versace offers significant untapped growth potential. 2 of Canada's wealthiest families are set to own a piece of this country's history. Their multi-million-dollar joint bid was the only one for Hudson's Bay's founding charter, and it's expected to go through tomorrow. Cameron McIntosh shows where the document could go next.
Behind 2 secure doors, a special vault in the center of the archives of Manitoba.
These are our oldest textual records, the oldest records of the Hudson's Bay Company.
The Hudson's Bay Company's archives, more than 4,000 items dating back to the 1600s. One item is not here.
How does the charter fit into all of this?
Well, in a sense, the charter is the start of the story, right?
The 1670 Royal Charter established the Hudson's Bay Company, arguably Britain's first claim to most of what is now Canada.
I do feel that the Hudson's Bay Company, its founding, its documentation, its existence, sets the stage for so much of where we are today.
The 17th century fur trader, now effectively a bankrupt 21st century retailer, is selling the charter. 2 of Canada's richest businessmen, Galen Weston and David Thompson, are offering the Bay's creditors $18 million for it. A source with direct knowledge confirms to CBC News there are no other offers. A judge still has to sign off. The document would be donated to 4 public institutions for the first time, moving out of private hands.
Yes, it's a corporate archival document, but it also has significant Canadian value, but also impacts on Indigenous sovereignty.
Part of the deal would see the document displayed with interpretations of the fur trade's impact on Indigenous people.
It demands recognition, but it also demands a kind of reset.
EP sees it as nothing less than the foundational document of Canada.
Certainly, there is value to Canadians across Canada.
355 years later, that charter still making history. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Now it's time to dig deeper into the stories shaping our world. Calls for a crackdown on nicotine pouches.
The problem is that we've targeted them at kids.
Worries about a new generation's addiction. But first,
the most important part of this entire week has been the impact on our employees and in the community.
devastating layoffs at one of Canada's largest steel manufacturers, 2 months after $500 million in government tariff loans. People in Sault Ste. Marie have known for a couple of years that changes to the way Algoma produces steel were going to lead to a big workforce adjustment. But coming so soon after those loan announcements, the loss of 1,000 jobs may have caught Canadians off guard. Earlier today, CBC senior business correspondent Peter Armstrong asked Algoma's CEO Mike Garcia about the layoffs and whether there was enough clarity around them and their timing.
So, Mike, I want to go back to September 29th, the day of that announcement of the government loans, $500 million in government loans. On that day, in that moment, what was your understanding of the number of jobs that would be lost as a result of this transition?
It was largely the number that we announced yesterday. We knew from really probably the middle of the summer when it became apparent that these 50% tariffs were not a momentary condition. There wasn't going to be a quick deal reached with the United States. And so we had to really work hard on our pivot strategy that is hinging upon the early and accelerated transformation to electric arc furnaces. And that's what the bulk of the job layoffs and job eliminations were yesterday.
And just so people know, the transition from the old traditional way of making steel, these blast furnaces, to these higher tech arc furnaces, electric arc furnaces, it's all the people that were sort of part and parcel of that old traditional way of making steel, that those jobs are just becoming redundant. Have I got that about right?
All those specific jobs are, yes. And there's hundreds of jobs in our iron making, our blast furnace, and our coke making operations. There are a smaller number of jobs that have been affected at the company in our coil making operations because we really are not producing very much coil at all, with the U.S. market being closed to us. So we have reduced our production in our coil department. If the coil market were to return in the coming months or in the future, farther into the future as we diversify into different products, there'll be the opportunity to bring those jobs back and actually grow the number of jobs at Algoma Steel by 400 or 500 jobs eventually as the Canadian market develops and we're able to diversify.
I went back through that announcement from September 29th and listened to Patty Haidu talk. I listened to you talk. I listened to your union talk as well. It didn't feel like the telegraphing of information was as clear as it is today. It didn't feel like Canadians were told, look, we're going to make this transition, but it's going to cost 1,000 jobs. Should we have been, or should you have been, more clear on that day about what the implication of this was going to be?
Well, that's a great question. Obviously, internally, we've been crystal clear with our employee base from the beginning, and really all the news that was announced today. That's the most important part of this entire week has been the impact on our employees and in the community and on the community of Sault Ste. Marie, and that's where our focus has been. And I would say that internally, we have been crystal clear. We have, our employees have seen us run out our raw material stocks for the blast furnace and for the coke ovens. They've seen our, the fact that we're no longer going to have raw materials in just a short number of weeks. So they know that this transition is real. They knew the timing. What they didn't know was exactly when we were going to reach that 16-week mark. And that 16-week mark is when we had to officially, and I guess publicly tell and announce the intention of layoffs. But I would say we feel good about the amount of information that we've shared with our employees. I don't think any one of them would tell you that yesterday's announcement was a surprise in any way.
Why those 16 weeks now, though, as opposed to 5 weeks from now, after Christmas and after the holidays? Wouldn't it have given, especially if you know your workers know this transition's coming, a little bit more comfort through the holidays and through the Christmas season?
That's debatable. I don't think, if I know my job is going away, but I haven't been told exactly when, but I see that there's no more raw material for me to load into the blast furnace, and there's not work for me. That doesn't necessarily give me a sense of comfort. The other part of that is 16 weeks is required by our collective bargaining unit and by legislation when you're dealing with this amount of notices. The timing is never going to be perfect. And we did the best we can to share the information clearly and concisely as soon as we understood from a larger point of view what that last day was going to be. And that's what we announced yesterday.
Casting forward on the jobs, you mentioned if the coil market comes back, you can bring back some of those jobs. As the arc furnaces come on board, and as we get more demands for your product, how many of those laid off workers do you expect might be able to come back in and get some work at Algoma Steel?
It would depend on the state of the coil market, the state of the coil market in Canada, perhaps the state of the coil market in the U.S. if the tariffs to the U.S. are lowered. But it could be, if you think about it, if we're adding one production crew, or maybe 2 production crews, or maybe 3 production crews, it could be in increments of 50, 100, maybe even up to 200 employees. But it would all depend on the market demand and our ability to access the markets.
The layoffs announced this week, roughly 40% of Algoma's unionized staff are set to take effect in late March. Many worry that the local economy will not be able to provide jobs for so many people all at once, and that some will have to leave the community in order to find work. Coming up, a popular nicotine replacement therapy is finding its way into the hands of young people.
I'd be in class thinking about them. I would be driving, thinking about them I wanted to go home to use them.
How lifestyle advertising and lax enforcement may be leading to teenage addiction. Next. Billed as a smoking cessation tool, high-dose nicotine pouches are themselves leading young people to addiction.
Being like a prisoner to those nicotine pouches is exactly how it is.
The pouches are supposed to be for sale in pharmacies only, but in this CBC News investigation, Ithel Musa finds they're available all over the place.
This little nicotine pouch is not authorized for sale in Canada, but we bought it, no questions asked, and we caught it all on camera.
Hi, do you guys have any Zyn?
High dosages, banned flavors sold under the counter across Canada. Policy critics say those in charge are asleep at the wheel.
Clearly, there needs to be more enforcement.
What's supposed to help smokers quit is instead being billed as a lifestyle, and that's attracting young people who are getting hooked.
My life revolved around it. All I wanted to do was come home to use them because that's how addictive they were.
Ashley Biswanger is a student at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario. The fourth-year poli-sci major is enjoying her final few months of university. But just a short while ago,
I was completely demotivated. I didn't do anything. If I think about the last couple years, I didn't really do anything for years. I would just lay in my bed, and just because of the overwhelming amount of dopamine rush that I would get.
Ashley first started using nicotine pouches as a teenager to try and cut back on vaping.
It was the instant head rush, and it was just immediate, and I didn't have to do anything, and it was just really, really nice.
As her tolerance grew, she began craving more. a lot more, and worked her way up to a whopping 50-milligram pouch, using them up to 8 times a day.
I'd be in class like thinking about them. I would be like driving, thinking about them, like I wanted to go home to use them.
Experts say absorption varies between a pouch and a cigarette, but a 50-milligram pouch is extreme, well above the 4-milligram legal limit. And at 8 times a day, that put Ashley's need for nicotine in line with a heavy chain smoker at a very young age. Dr. Nicholas Chatty is a pediatrician who specializes in addiction.
So the younger a person is exposed to nicotine, the higher the risk of eventually developing dependence and addiction. Nicotine has some impacts on how the brain develops, and it may, in the moment, be pleasurable, but be tied to some longer-term mental health or physical health problems.
In 2023, the sale of tobacco-free nicotine pouches began in earnest under the watch of Health Canada as a tool to help people quit smoking. Only one brand was approved for sale, Zonic, and there was no age restriction, and there were an array of fruity flavors, all marketed as a lifestyle. Nicotine pouches are growing in popularity amongst youth. Unlike vaping or smoking, they are extremely discreet. Tucked between the gum and the lip, they are absorbed into the bloodstream, providing an instant head rush. In 2024, after red flags were raised, Health Canada tightened the rules to deter youth. You may have noticed the ads during the World Series with a somber tone and giant warnings. Now, only those over the age of 18 can buy them, and their sale is limited to pharmacies. The only authorized flavors are mint or menthol, and at a 4-milligram dosage.
We had a bit of a own goal when we first approved these pouches, where we approved them without any minimum legal age of sale, very little warnings, all sorts of flavors.
Professor David Hammond is a health policy expert at the University of Waterloo. His research shows the number of Canadian youth who've tried using a pouch has doubled.
The problem is that we've targeted them at kids. It's not something a 50-year-old smoker looks to use to help them to quit. It's something a 15-year-old grabs on their way to the parties. Most kids are using Zyn. This is a big international brand. It's the biggest brand in the US, and they're buying it from illegal sources. They're getting it online. They're getting it from some corner stores.
Love it. Despite the government's new rules, we wanted to test the waters of the illegal pouch market.
It'll vibrate when it's on.
Yeah.
Then you know the camera's right there.
Wow, okay. That's great. Say hi.
Hi.
Armed with hidden cameras, we hit the streets. Remember, they're only supposed to be sold at pharmacies.
Hi there. Do you guys have Zyn?
What kind of flavor?
And how much are they each?
$14.99 plus tax.
Okay, success. We were able to get 2 containers of Zyn in flavors that are not authorized in Canada. One of them is gummy bears, for gummy bear, and the other one is pina colada. The pina colada also is in a milligram that is quite high. It is 15 milligrams.
Okay.
Store after store in Toronto sold us multiple tins of unauthorized pouches.
Hey, do you have Zyns?
Yeah.
And the same thing happened across the country, in Halifax, Montreal, and Vancouver. While we don't know if the products are authentic, corner stores were blatantly breaking the rules. We reached out to Zyn's parent company, who made clear to CBC News that their products are not authorized for sale in Canada, and that they're working with law enforcement to stop illicit trade. And then there are online retailers, some based in Canada, selling all kinds of other brands shipped directly to people's homes. Free express post shipping, fully discreet packaging.
Oh, gummy bear, I haven't seen that. Do we have a problem with the illegal pouch market? We do. But clearly there needs to be more enforcement. The bottom line is that they need to do retailer checks. They need to be showing up to these stores and seeing who's selling them. Let's put it this way, if a 14-year-old kid can figure out where to buy them, then our enforcement officers can too. So it's a question of resources, and it's a question of commitment.
For its part, Health Canada tells CBC News it has managed more than 300 compliance cases, conducting on-site visits and seizing products at various retailers since last August. Ashley Biswanger managed to quit cold turkey a few months ago. Now she warns others of the time she lost in a daze.
It is so not worth it, and it's really an expensive habit. And for someone like being like a prisoner, like that was a really good analogy, because being like a prisoner to those nicotine pouches is exactly how it is.
Debate over the nicotine pouches, if investigated, has hit Canada's political heights. The Conservative Party has said the Liberal ban in corner stores reduces choice and restricts access to crucial smoking cessation tools. A high-powered construction vehicle has become the tool of choice in some smash-and-grab robberies. But how do the criminals get their hands on the excavators? Nama Weingarten tracks it down.
In this pile of rubble lies what was left of a family-owned convenience store in Scarborough, Ontario. Collateral victim of an excavator used by thieves to smash the bank next door and attempt to steal an ATM.
We built day and night for the past few years, and overnight it's gone, nothing. I was so sad, it's really sad.
Amy Wong and her husband have been waiting since June for the shop where they spend 13 hours a day, 7 days a week to be rebuilt. And in the meantime, her husband had to find a temporary job.
You know, we lost the only source of income of my family, as you know, but all the expense continued.
After causing over $600,000 worth of damage to the plaza, the suspects fled without any cash. But that hasn't stopped others from trying out the same thing. There's been at least 6 instances of thieves using excavators to break into banks in the Greater Toronto Area in the past year. Police say no one was charged in any of these cases. And it's not just Ontario. Similar cases have been reported this year in Newfoundland and British Columbia. But getting these machines off the lot is no brilliant heist. Tim Allen teaches in the heavy equipment program at Centennial College.
And these 4 controls make it move.
He says most of these machines share the same universal key. And I can get this on Amazon.
You can get it at the dealership, on Amazon. Mechanics have several of them in their toolbox.
We gave it a shot.
Smash it again. That's pretty tough.
What is harder is escaping with one. Many only go less than 20 kilometers an hour.
So you're not going to steal that machine and drive it across town to break into a bank. I would imagine what's happening is they find an excavator parked someplace that they have a key for and look around for the nearest bank and find out, oh, there's a machine right there we can use to break in.
Allen says construction companies can install security systems inside their machines to prevent these thefts, but that can be impractical.
Company has 100 machines. They can't keep track of 100 different keys.
Meanwhile, police keeping track of these open cases.
You know, it's not something that you hear of every day.
Constable Tyler Bell-Morena with Peel Regional Police says with these kinds of cases, there's a good chance the same suspects are behind more than one theft.
So once we get a network of suspects identified, it's usually pretty quick that we can start getting them connected to incidents that are happening across the GTA.
And while the Wong family waits to learn who did this to their business, they're hoping they can reopen in time for Christmas.
CBC News reached out to several companies whose construction equipment was involved in recent thefts. None replied to our request for comment. Coming up, an 11-month journey comes to an end for a Canadian cyclist.
Oh, I said I was going to do it, but I actually did it. I rode around the world.
Why he biked 30,000 kilometers in our moment. Next. This is Mark Herbst. He just finished an 11-month journey biking 30,000 kilometers around the globe. Mark began his adventure to honor his late wife, who passed away from cancer. Now he's officially the oldest person ever to cycle around the world, and his epic ride makes our moment.
Welcome to day 23. Day 32.
Day 99.
244. 324. Mark's epic ride.
I know I said I was going to do it, but I actually did it. I rode around the world. I started in Bangkok, Thailand, January 7th of this year, and I finished 4 days ago back in Bangkok, 25 countries. Came out to a total of 30,000 kilometers going into these different countries. And the scenery, just spectacular. I'm carrying all my own gear, all my clothes. I've got a tent. Sleeping bags, stove, the mental side and the emotional side is so hard. Part of it was just trying to find a sense of purpose in my life. My wife Jackie died 3 years ago of cancer. I was looking for some way of honoring Jackie. You know, I wanted to be giving back. I joined up with Princess Margaret Hospital and decided to raise funds. You just get on your bike and you start riding. And there were days I could really feel Jackie. I remember riding along and feeling like I'd just been getting a big hug. You know, it's pretty cool.
And Mark got the Guinness World Record for being the oldest person to ride around the globe at age 69. And he managed to raise over $50,000 for cancer research while doing it. And to top it all off, when he got home, it turned out his Christmas decorations were actually still up. So one less thing to do, which is probably pretty good because maybe he's a little tired. From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. I'm Erica Johnson in Vancouver. Take care.